Hey, Flosstube, Pam here, stitching between the lines. Um, Today, Monday morning, June 26th. I looked up the date before I even started so I could tell you. We're back in the sweatshop sewing room, as I call it. Craft room, cluttered room. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure the camera's where I want it, and you know, the my iPad's holder is pushing against where I pushed my iPad. Anyway, Monday morning, I don't remember what number floss tube this is, 14 or 15 maybe. Um, we're on the iPad. I'm watching the clock, but I'm going to live dangerously, playing, with fire. I had Flosstube 11 that I kept calling Flosstube 10, but was really 11 when I went to look it up. It was the one I had to chop up into 3 parts, and I saved it in its original form because there had even been editing before the 3 parts. And I put it on a jump drive, moved it over onto my laptop, and just thought, what the heck? Let me try sending it. It went 20 hours. It took 20 hours, just a mere 20 hours, but it went. I have no idea. I've read and read and read on the subject before, and if something's going to take longer than 8 hours, YouTube bumps it off or quits. I have no idea. 20 hours is long. A lot can happen in 20 hours, but I am going to, like I said, live dangerously and see if I can do another one. I don't know if maybe putting it on the jump drive compressed it in some way that allowed it to go. Every single time I make one, I try some other combination of events, short of keeping it to 15 minutes and uploading it from my iPad. So, what I will do today, I think I'll try, is at around the 15-minute mark, I'll make sure I somehow let myself know we're almost at 15 minutes. So, if I do have to chop it up, I will have that visual when you're editing, when I'm editing, when I'm cutting, to see that that's the stopping point for a part. So I have several things to do today, to show today. Uh, my design wall behind me, see it, is big empty spot where I've taken down all my little FFOs so that I can show those. I have more in the works. I'm trying to work my way through it. Last year, 2016, I did a small a month and finished it, and took something out of my pile of unfinished smalls and finished it. But I was still stitching more smalls than I was finishing. Sent some to Vanna, and for some reason just had the urge to get to work on some of these. I know how to do some things. I should be doing more things. So anyway, I got some things going, and I have a paper with some notes so we can do that. I have some little small FFOs, and I have some progress, and I shopped a tiny bit. Well, I shopped a lot of bit. I'm going to show you a tiny bit of shopping. So anyway, let's get going. I have my Diet Coke, which is going to be in the way. I'm just moving it. So progress, I really had hoped when I started this video to have this page of my Heaven and Earth design finished, but I don't. Here's the picture, just a reminder. Jane Wooster Scott's Vibrant Vistas. I am in love with this picture. I hope I feel that way after I have stitched this picture, because I'm working across row 1 up here. Big blocks of color. Confetti is only present here and there, and I'm at this point, I'm doing this part with the flag. So here it is. Parking goes against my style. Oh, there's a needle in there. Let me grab that. Parking goes against my style of stitching. I would prefer to carry on over with the color till its blob is done. So I have flowed on into the next page. Right around here is its breaking point. Sometimes here is a parked thread. If this color is just going to go on and on, I'm not going to spend my time doing the next page's work. So here's where I'm working. I'm working on the flag. I got the blue field done. I need to do a little bit more brown that's between the flag and the flagpole. And I watched a video over the weekend, a YouTube on doing heaven and earth. I don't know what's on there, little thread. And it was a 4-part series. I watched the first one, I watched the fourth one. And she demonstrated parking. And I watched Carolyn Mazio do it before, but this one was interesting. She started right out her very, very first stitches on a heaven and earth design. And I could feel myself getting like, I don't think I could do that, because she'll put one stitch in and look for where it recurs again and park her thread. It could be immediately underneath. It could be over a couple spots. It could be 2 stitches over with a gap in between. I just feel like I need to keep going. If a color is right there, I feel like I need to keep going. But no, I'm sorry. Here's Cooper. What happens is when you're working on such tiny little intricate stitching, if you have one stitch that's been completely encapsulated with stitches around, it is very hard to make that stitch. It's hard to pull. It's hard on your fingers. So I realize the worth of parking. I'm going to try. I tried a little bit. I still got ahead of myself a little bit in this blue field. I know you can't really see it, but it's a night kind of fall scene. So I don't know. There are some gray stitches in there that represent stars. When I first started this, I was so excited to do some blue. And the first colors I picked out for the first row were 310 and 3371. I thought, what? Wait, what? So I even looked back. Do I have that right? Sure enough, I looked in the box. There's all these luscious blues waiting to be used. They're in there, the darkest of blues, but with black. So anyway, that was less fun than I thought. But it's done. So now I am moving on to the stripes. And it's a small area. These blocks on this magic grid are 20 by 20. I really should be able to, without a horrible amount of anxiety, park and give parking a fair chance in here. I may be very happy when I come back to another tree, because this tree was sort of nightmarish. There's more trees, there's the whole picture coming up with color changes, not so many blocks of color. I really do need to give it a good go. So I'm stitching this on the 25 count magic grid, easy grid. I don't remember. I thought it was magic grid, but you can buy it from Heaven and Earth Designs website. I am doing 3/1 a half stitch. That is what worked for me with the coverage. It gives that real tapestry feel. It's not as hard on my knuckles, because pulling and pulling and pulling a needle that doesn't want to go because the thread is so tight was more than I could do. I started out that way and I had to take it all out. I wasn't going to be able to do it. So this time of year, when we're out we have lots of landscaping, lots of gardening, lots of things that we mess around with outside. My hands are feeling it, and I'm only working on this in the evening, probably about 2 hours. This past week has been busy. There's been lots of evenings when I haven't worked, which is why this isn't done. Lots of things going on. Summertime. So anyway, there's my progress on Vibrant Vistas. And then I am also I have 2 different stitching spots. I'm sure I've mentioned and talked about this in my upstairs stitching spot. I'm doing Little House Needleworks Early Americans. This is just one of them. I'm doing the border that Vanna designed, and I didn't sign up for the automatic on these until after she had started hers and showed hers a few times. So I'm late to the party. So, and working, I always work from the right over. And just because this is the way, because I got a late start, I worked on the border. Bunting, if there's bunting in something, I'm sold. I'm using the called for colors. And I started with Martha Washington, which is the 3rd block. It's more stitch heavy than the first 2. So after doing the border and Martha, I'm taking a break. And then I'll come back, and I think I'll do these 2 in one shot. I don't know. I think I'm a really slow stitcher, would seem to be the way. So maybe after I get John Hancock done, I'll want another break. And I do know there's a stitch missing. These are alternating between the stars, a red and a blue. And I just used up my red, and instead of starting a new red when I didn't need the red anywhere else, I just didn't do it. I will, obviously, remember that, haha, and get back to it. Excellent opportunity to try out Vanna's. I don't think Vanna invented this, right? Did you, Vanna? I don't think so. Maybe came across this. The diagonal pin stitch to start. Excellent opportunity to use that because there's a lot of stopping and starting, and I don't really want to drag a dark thread, not from here all the way to here. I wouldn't do that. So when you're doing just one little stitch, I really like that stitch. I've been using that a lot. One of my deep dark secrets of, I don't even know if I'm telling this. I can't believe I'm telling this. I started stitching when I was 8 years old, so that was a lot of years ago. That was more than 40 years ago, like way back. And that's how you did it. You licked your thread and you tied a knot in the end and you started. So I do run a little tiny security knot under things when I can to start another color. I take my framing to a shop that's been in business 35 years at least, and I say to her all the time, I know I knot. She goes, who cares? Whatever, it works. So there you go. She's what she said. It works. I it is what it is. It works for me. I don't knot everything. Some things I just run a few stitches underneath and hold it in place. And sometimes I use a waist knot. It just depends on what I'm doing and what works out. So anyway, there's Martha Washington. I need to go back and do the other two. And I think Nathan Hale is already out. He's the fourth. I didn't get Martha until maybe 2 weeks ago, so I know where I'm getting mine from. Takes a little longer, or I'm not really sure. Before I got Martha, I emailed them and said, can I add a couple threads to my order for the automatic with Martha Washington? And she said that the way they do things, they can't do that. Plus, Martha Washington wasn't there yet. So I don't know, but other people were already stitching it, so I know it's around. Oh, anyway, let me just say this because I keep saving this little piece of paper. My fabric is oatmeal, 32 count Murano, from the Crafty Kitten, a Flosstube learning. I learned on Flosstube that I did this back in the fall. Exchange rates were good between the euro and the dollar, and I went to the Crafty Kitten and I bought a bunch of fabric, and it's just beautiful. It took a while to come. Some of it she had to dye, and I just mixed it up with some different counts, different fabrics, different colors, and I believe if you ordered $100, 100 euros, I don't remember with, shipping was free. So, I obliged. I ordered $100, and it is very nice. No complaints whatsoever. I think I serged the edges. I have a serger. If something needs serged, I'll serge it, and sometimes it comes serged. I think this is me serging this. So there's that. Gets to go into a project bag, and I get to get out one of my other whips to work on a little bit. It will be the Christmas sampler that you see lots of people doing. Hopefully I got that right. So there's that. So anyway, we are at 14, almost going on 15 minutes. So I'm just for a visual cue, if I have to stop it, I'm going to be stopping it in this minute. So I'll try not to talk about anything important for the next 50 seconds in case I have to cut it out. So anyway, we've been traveling a little bit. I've been traveling. I've been to Toronto. There's a big international quilt show that was in Toronto this year. I went with some friends, spent a couple days. Toronto's not very far from here. It's an easy drive. And it's not easy to drive when you're there. But it's distance-wise not horrible. And the border wasn't bad. Crossing the border was easy. Not always easy. Done it a few times. Anyway, so let me show you. So I'm just going to let it, while I dig these out, cross over that 15-minute mark. so I know where to start again. So anyway, let me make room. So as I was saying, I went to Toronto to a quilt show, and in Toronto is the home of, and I did not know this, the designer of X's and O's. The picture that was hanging here in the last video, the little boy swinging on the swing, is at the Framers. But she was there with a big booth, and I thought, oh my gosh, she was right inside the door when I got there, and I thought, oh my gosh, could there be more cross stitch here? I got really excited, but she was the only cross stitch. I'm an avid quilter, so I'm just as excited over fabric and patterns. But I was there on the last day of the show. I was there 2 days. But on the last day of the show, she was having a special, buy two, get one free. So you know what that means. I needed three. So I just love a vintage scene, a vintage Christmas scene, a vintage scene with children. Yeah, there's more vintage scenes I can be a sucker for. So anyway, caring hands, X's and O's, the children putting the letter, I'm going to say, to Santa in the mailbox. Cute as can be. Loved it. And this one called Line Gallery. Again, you get the quilts. I love the look of the stormy sky. She had cuts of fabric for a lot of her patterns that especially used something unique. But she didn't have, she had a lot of Ada, and I didn't want to stitch it on Ada, so I may be looking for a stormy sky scene. Although, honestly, I'll have to get the threads out, because one of the things I bought, because I liked it so much, was a second piece of the summer sky that I used with the trees and me piece. So really, it could be a nice sunny day with the quilts on the line. And then the other one I got was called Slicker Parade. So the thing about this is, when I learned to stitch, it was just children's type embroidery or stamped cross stitch. And one of the first pieces I got, both my sister and I think my sister still has hers. One of the first pieces that we were given, I might have been around 10, maybe, was this line of children with umbrellas. Nowhere near as detailed as this, but this just reminded me of that. So again, buy two, get one free. I was more than willing to oblige. I'm not sure which one of these three was my intentional purchase. The one I really think I was going to purchase, it might have been this one. There was a lot to choose from. It was not really a super easy choice. Do a lot of the shops we frequent online carry X's and O's, feature them, show them? I don't know. Anyway, she had some neat stuff. I said, oh, I just finished touching the autumn sky. And she said, oh, it was hanging on the wall. And she said that was one of her least, let me say this backwards, the least heavily stitched piece she did. So I don't think I impressed her with my news of having just finished. So anyway, anywho, there's that. Now, another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to keep you on the hook for my finishes, is I'm going to do the 20 random facts about me. I have them on a paper. It's probably going to be more than 20. Some people did 10 because they felt like it was hard to think up things. But I had some time to think. So I kept thinking of things and other things and more things. So anyway, I was born in Ohio. I've lived in a number of places. And I know that's listed on here somewhere, that I've lived many places. We moved a lot, went to a lot of schools. In 4th grade, I went to 3 brand new schools in 4th grade. Brand new. Didn't just go from 3rd grade to 4th grade in the same school. No, 3 brand new schools in 4th grade. Hated the last one we ended up in. But anyway, there's 4 kids in my family. I'm the oldest girl. Have an older brother, so I'm the third of 4. And I was going to talk about my college. I don't know. I graduated with a degree in accounting. I'm going to say it. A CPA. I am a CPA. Don't ask me any questions. Don't. I worked in the tax field all the way through until not that long ago. And my job in the court came to be because of my accounting degree. New York State was having a hard time with money management in courts. So I'm going to leave it at that. And let's see, I met my husband on a blind date. When people ask me, they're always so surprised. How'd you meet? On a blind date. I was working in my first job after college, and his college best friend's wife worked with me. So anyway, it was a blind date, and we've been married 28 years. We celebrated our anniversary in May, 28 years. We have 3 kids. When I was growing up, this is one of those facts, it's on here somewhere, I wanted to have 7 kids. 7 kids, I know, right? I wanted 7 kids. And I have no idea why. The Waltons, I don't know. So I wanted 7 kids. And we had 3. That was good. I think if we'd had 7, I think I'd have a kid like entering middle school. I didn't have my 3rd one until I was in my early 30s. So at that rate, I would have been in my early 40s if by the time I'd had my 7th. Somewhere around there. Here's a cat again, just jumped up here. I was more than happy to see the school years pass by. So 3 was good. Maybe I will have 7 grandchildren. That would be nice. Maybe I was projecting forward. A couple things I'm listed on here is that I like to iron and I like to do the dishes. I was at work one day, and it must have been a cold, miserable winter day, and I said something about I want to go home and iron or do the dishes. I don't know. I can't even remember. My friends looked at me like I had just grown 2 heads. I said, it warms you up. It's nice, cozy things to do on a cold winter day. And they're like, hello, pajamas and a blanket. I don't know. So I'm a real homebody. Love to be home, like to stay home, never sad to be home, staying home. It's, we have hobbies, cross-stitch, reading, sewing, that are all home. My kitties are home. I like to read. My favorite book of my adulthood is Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible. I read it once. I liked it enough that I purchased the audio version and have listened to it several times. It's a good book. My childhood favorite book was, of course, I don't want to say of course because it's not everybody's, but this will be no surprise. It was Little House in the Woods. I still read books that are written about the author, the daughter, by the daughter, about them. I remember reading when I was around 14 maybe. My mother found at the library the book that was written, I didn't look this up so I can't tell you exactly, about like an author had retraced the real facts of the story, and it was very eye-opening. I just remember how eye-opening it was, like how they lived in Burr Oak, I think was the name of it, and the things that happened there, and that they'd had a baby boy that died, and things like that. To some degree, I couldn't see the point of why things were left out of the book, but I know they're children's stories. My favorite movie is Grease. There were times when I would have said different movies, like An Officer and a Gentleman or The Big Chill, whatever, things like that. But honest to God, Grease. If it's on TV, I'll pop into the middle of it. If I am feeling like really lethargic and maybe I don't feel good, I'll put on Grease. So that has to come down to being my favorite movie. That is excluding Christmas movies. I absolutely love Christmas music. That's the other thing I'll say. Love Christmas music. All forms of Christmas music. I won't start listening to it until the radio starts playing it because it just doesn't feel right. Anyway, I want to make sure I keep into the next chunk of 50 minutes in case I have to sever this again. Favorite color is blue, followed closely by green. Love to travel. I've been to I tried to count. I have it on a map somewhere, 26 or something of the United States, and I'd like to see all of them. We don't have any active plans to try to do that yet. I feel like once I've done Alaska and Hawaii, the rest will just fall into place. Part of the problem here is that I've been to all the small, close together states. The big spread out states are harder to hit multiple ones in one shot. I don't do Facebook. I have a Facebook account under a name that's not exactly my own. You'd have to refer back to previous videos and maybe look at some of the more recent events that have happened. It's not my thing, except I am totally addicted to stash unload. It's not good. Cats, I love cats. I've always had cats. We had a small gap in our cat ownership, and I couldn't stand it, so we got cats. Our 2 boys we adopted as adults, having been traumatized by abandonment. So I inherited their abandonment issues. I hate coffee. Hate it. I, as a child, loved the smell of coffee. When my mother would make coffee, I'd ask her to hold the tin down for me to smell. Loved it. First time I ever tasted it, was horrified. Horrified by the taste. I don't even know where to begin. But this, I love this. Candy bar. You cannot get these in the United States generally. They're from Canada. They come from Canada. And somewhere, if you look, I think it even says Nestle's Canada something. And so I savor them, but I live where there's the most wonderful grocery stores. Wonderful. And in the international aisle, sometimes you can find Coffee Crisp. So I don't really have to travel back to Toronto to get them. So let me see. I have a 19 and a 20 where there's nothing written, but I feel like I have said enough things that it counts all the way to 20. So there we go. 20. I made it to 20. So anyway, not at 30 minutes. Close enough that if I had to cut this apart, 20 random things about me could all be on its own video. So right here is where I might have to stop it. And then I can start again. So what I have to show you now are my FFOs. I got busy in my sewing room finishing some things. Let me see where to start. I know I don't say this right. I don't know. It's that. This piece called Instant Winter. See, they're French. And I've had this for a while in my collection. I stitched it up this past winter, made it into a pillow. Isn't that cute? Sewed on the buttons, got some rickrack. Oh, here's a little thing I'm going to tell you about rickrack. I went to Joann Fabrics to buy the rickrack, right? And you know how Joann Fabrics is laid out in those little slots and all by color and size. There's a pillow form in here too, so I'm working on getting it into the corners. So, but it's a pillow form, so it really does keep it shaped nice. But anyway, as I'm looking for my color of rickrack, I noticed there are some empty bins, and as I'm just rifling through, there was clearance written on some of the rickrack colors. Not all of them. I could not make sense out of the color or the size. Was it always the larger one? But you wouldn't know it was clearance unless you moved all the little packages of rickrack and looked on the metal rack that holds them. There was the little sign that said clearance. So anyway, if you like rickrack for finishing and you shop at Joann's, I would take a peek and see, could it be a particular color or size being discontinued? It wasn't there for all of them. So I don't think it's everything. Maybe there's some colors that are more popular than other colors. So anyway, if you want to stock up on rickrack, check it out at Joann's. I want to go pick something up, so hang on half a second. This pillow reminded me. I have this box. The lid doesn't exactly fit because it's got something in it that I'm trying not to lose. So this little plastic box is my safe spot. Do you see that? It's not very big, and you can see there's something in there. Buttons that go on a piece. This is the little tin that goes with, I showed in my whip diving video, like a Halloween parade. It's supposed to go around this. So this is in here, and it's a little too big. So the reason I have such a place as a safe spot is that I lost the buttons to a piece I was doing. I know I took them out of the pattern. I was taking the pattern to Florida with me, and they were snowflake buttons, which is what reminded me. I left them here somewhere. I have torn this place apart looking for that little envelope of buttons. It'll turn up sooner or later. And so anyway, I rebought them, and they went into my safe spot until I finished that piece and I could get them. Now, here's a curious thing about my safe spot. I honestly don't know what these go to. So I labeled these things in my safe spot. So how this whole network of things works out. Anyway, so my other finishes are this. This I did not recently finish. This I kept out from packing when I packed up my Christmas ornaments and decorations. I sent this to somebody to be finished a number of years ago. It is, I don't even know the name. You know, a little house. It's a little house, probably called Holly and Berries. But what I really liked was her finishing method. So I've been staring at it for months now. And then I saw Yvonne on Night Owl Stitcher mention that on the Shepherd's Bush, you could, on YouTube, Shepherd's Bush had instructions on making this wonky trim. Now, when I looked it up, it's like a minute long, and she just whips through it a few times. The instructions weren't as clear as instructions could be. It was more like just a quick demo. So let's call it that, a quick demo. So I thought maybe on one of my finishes that I was hanging on to, I would give this a try. So I have Little House Needleworks, the Sampler Tree Ornament Series Merry Christmas. So I've had this one hanging around here for a while, and I thought I would try the wonky ribbon method, right? So I did it, and it's not bad. It's not a whole lot different. See that? It's funny. Light shines through that down there and makes it look funny, but it really is just a regular old pucker in the... So there's that, and it takes a little practice. That's what I will say on that subject. So I have another one, Milady's Needle. Oh, when I did my whip diving video, I had disclosed that the day before when I was peeking through the basket of whips to see kitted up things. Some of them, not all of them are really whips, but I'm calling them that because they're intended to be next in the lineup. I pulled out Milady's Needle over the river, and I just started stitching on it. No reason. I was working on something different. You know how it happens. And then my Heaven and Earth design pattern that evening needed some time out. There's just times it just isn't going to work for you. And I was glad I actually had this started. And so I finished it, and I did the same border again. I had better success. I knew better what I was doing. One of the keys is, let me find my camera, is you pick up a bead on your needle, and you actually are not stitching any, no needle goes into your ribbon. You just push a little bit of the, push a little bit of the ribbon back towards the previous needle bead, wrap your needle around and go into the fabric and come out whatever distance, a ½ inch away. Pick up another bead and wrap it around again and get a little poofy going. And when you crunch up that little poofy of ribbon that you just left behind, it gives it this look. And because you haven't actually stitched through any of that ribbon, if you come to a spot where you're not real delighted with the amount of ribbon, you can shuffle it a little bit. You can get a little pull to make this one smaller, or you can go backwards and pull a little bit to get some of your tail worked up to make it a little poofier. So I really do feel like I learned a lot. I didn't put any hangers on these. These are really meant to be basically bowl fillers. You know what we're doing with those. These aren't all ornaments. These are a little big for me for ornaments. This one came, again, I sent this out to be done, and it's got a piece of the ribbon that sticks up. Or it's supposed to be some more of the loop. I don't really know. It wants to stick up like that, so it's there. So I managed 2 of those, and then this is a finish. This is that Prairie Schooler Santa, 1995, I think, the gingerbread Santa that I did, and he's too big to be a tree ornament for my taste. I think I got to the point where I was just tired of not knowing what to do with it. My blanket stitch is not as messy as in real life as it looks. Anywho, he's on a little piece of felted wool, kind of. Cut around with the pinking, my rotary cutter with the pinking blade on it, and he is what he is. If I end up hanging him, he has a loop that I can put. I have some fancy tree hook things that loop that I can catch in there and do that. So there's him. And then one finish that I really have mastered is a beaded edge finish. So this shepherd's bush pattern jingle I don't even know when. It has a date on it. It's in really light green thread, so I can't see it. I knew this was going to be an ornament, so I left off this flowers on the top because I wanted it to be square. So I then went to Joann's and I found this little tube of these multicolored pink beads that were just so cute in color. I feel like maybe they're a little big on here. But all the same, it took me forever to finish. I don't know why. I would do like 5 beads and then I would put it down. So there it is. It's cute. It's the non-traditional Christmas colors of like light green and pink instead of the dark green and red. But it's cute, you know. You know shepherd's bush. I was going to send this one to Vanna. And then I thought, well, first of all, I know how to do this. And second of all, when I was pressing it, I ripped the button right off. Like, ripped the hole right in the button. So I had to fix that. The button ended up being actually glued on. And the thread in there is just decorative. Because the holes aren't really holes. It's now one big slot. That's it. Me and my iron. Dangerous combination. This has nothing to do with anything finished. This has to do with a shopping expedition I went on with a friend a while back to a quilt store that has a little bit of cross-stitch stuff in it. This came out in 2006, so this has been around forever. No, 2006. It's been around for 11 years. Peace on Earth sampler by Lisa Cowell, and I'm not familiar with her designs. But it laid here in my sewing room for a couple months till I could find the right thread because it uses a Needle Necessities, which this color's not available anymore. And I think if anybody has Needle Necessities, it's just the end of what they happen to have. But it's one color that stitches that whole thing. So I found some Dinky Dyes silk that's the brown pink kind of combination. Cocoa Cherry, just the name, Cocoa Cherry. And we all know how we love the feeling of our silks. So this one got its thread, and I should be able to find a piece of fabric easy enough. So maybe he's going into the basket of whips. You know how that happens. Not every kitted up thing is in there, but something I've kitted up and long to work on gets put there for maybe some ready pickings. So anyway, that's what's going on in the stitching world of me stitching between the lines. I'm looking around. There's been a bit of shopping. Yeah. I did take some framing in, so that was good. Got some framing underway. The 2 pieces the night before Christmas, they were hanging up here last time. The Trees and Me and the night before Christmas. So she's usually pretty good. Couple weeks and they'll be done. And I will have those to show. My plans for the immediate future are to get out my Christmas sampler that is I've shown it. It was a kit. Dimensions, I think. Blitz Stitch is doing it right now on Instagram. He's got way more than me done. Whew. He's been working on it way longer than me. And as soon as I finish my Heaven and Earth page, finish that flag, I will be going back to Let Freedom Ring. Let Freedom Ring is now on my, it's supposed to be a lap frame. It doesn't fit on my lap. Well, first of all, it's too far away from my face. I need it right here between them with the magnifier between me and it. But I bought big, long, wide stretcher bars, wide, so that it can sit maybe on the arms of my lazy boy. We'll try it. It comes off if it does not working out. I also ordered from Amazon a, not a lap frame. It's supposed to be one of those frames that you actually sit on, and then there's a pole and then the hoop. And I'm thinking, Primitive Stitcher, she showed it recently that she uses one. I'm thinking that it will sit on my lap and actually be much closer to my face. So we're going to try that. She gave the name of a someplace in Europe that sells it, but I found it on Amazon. So I am going to give that a whirl when that arrives, hopefully. I'm having trouble. I seem to have huge, vast pieces underway and holding it and making good progress. It's counterproductive. So one of these days I'm going to have a little wee meltdown and have to get out something small to stitch because I realized I have 4 big things underway and that's it. So there will be a little small maybe sometime soon. So for now, that's it. It's going to be almost 45 minutes. It might be 3 videos. It might be 1. I'm going to be optimistic that I'm going to put it on my Apple desktop, put it on a jump drive, and then put it on my laptop and wait a day and see if it goes. And if so, a whole new method is born. So in the meantime, it's been fun. I've been binge watching Emily C. I watched her first one a long time ago, and for whatever reason, I don't know, I was probably new to Flosstube and just hopping around. So now I'm binge watching her. So that's all for anything new, I think. Happy stitching. I'll be back. Bye.